Produced by Victoire. Masters of Wrestling gives a special thanks to the EWF and Mr. Jesse Hernandez. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Power and Glory, the podcast. You want to discover the power of truth in professional wrestling? Then you have come to the right place. I am one of your co-stars, the Master, Emir, along with my co-star. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a wrestling legend, WWE and WCW superstar, tag team specialist extraordinaire. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul Roma.
Thank you, as always, Emir, for that phenomenal introduction. I think I'm floating off my chair right now. All right, let's not let that go to my head. But anyway, it's great to be here, and I know that we have a special guest.
Yes, we do have a special guest. But before we special guest, and I'm sure a lot of you viewers are looking over your screen right now thinking, who does that remind me of? Well, before I get to our special guest, inconspicuous by our absence, sadly, is our all-star cheesecake maker, Mr. Mario Mancini. Now, he may or may not join us today, Paul. I know the ego's gotten the better of him lately, so...
Yeah. What are you going to do? You know, I mean, legal analyst, and then, you know, he's a super cheesecake maker. And I mean, like, almost world-renowned.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
So, you know, maybe it's gone to his head a little bit. I don't know. You know, he may be in the back wings, just looking on, seeing if we're saying anything about him. You know what I mean? He's like that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, he gets like a real Hollywood celebrity type. That's what it is. Yeah,
he's a big deal.
Gosh, we got to keep an eye on him when we get to Vegas, Paul.
Absolutely.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, we will be in Las Vegas for WrestleCon. Make your way over to the Power and Glory booth. You will find Paul Roma, you will find Mario Mancini, Jim Powers, and myself. We will all be there. We're going to have merchandise available, autograph signings, photographs, and a live podcast right there from the convention.
And action figures.
Oh, yes. Paul, your new action figures. Oh, yes. Very good.
Come get one, get it signed.
Absolutely. Paul, before we begin today, what do the viewers need to do immediately?
Listen, you may think I forgot, but I never forget. Well, that's a lie. But moving forward, what they have to do is just this. And it's this simple. Just go over and hit that subscribe button. That's all they have to do.
That's right.
That's it. That's why we're here today, because of them out there hitting that subscribe button.
That's right. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the likes, and share these videos with your friends and family. We greatly appreciate that. And I also want to let all of our consistent viewers know that next week we will be live. So you know what that means, Paul? That means you all need to get your wallets shined up because we're creating this content, and if you want to ask us a question live and get us to respond to you live, make sure you hit those super stickers. All right.
There you go.
Enough of the announcements.
Yes.
And now, the drum roll. Our special guest, ladies and gentlemen. He is the son of a WWE and WCW legend who was part of a superstar, part of a team that are considered WWE legends. That team is Demolition. Now you're starting to put the pieces together. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Royce Adams, the son of Crush Brian Adams. Welcome, Royce.
What's up, everyone? Happy to be here.
Glad you're here, sir. Glad you're here.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, you know, I met Royce, Paul, I met Royce back in Las Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley Club. We did an interview. Champions. They're not born in the gym. It starts from the inside and it works its way out. Do you feel it more difficult to obtain muscle? Are you tired or perhaps depressed? Then there's a solution. Our brand new partner and sponsor, Care Aesthetics of La Quinta, are here to help you get restored to optimal health. Just use the contact information in this video and schedule your free consultation. Be sure to mention the name of the podcast, whether that be Power and Glory, Styling, Masterclass, or Hey Roma, when doing so. We wish you all the best in your road to optimized health. And now, back to the show. Our Alley Club. We did an interview since that time. He's a tremendous young man, got a bright career ahead of him. He's working out in Florida. But Paul, have you ever met Royce at all?
I've never met Royce. You know, it's funny. I usually say, hey, I'll always put the son over. Like when I ran into Arn Anderson and his son, I said, he's a good-looking kid. What happened to you? He doesn't look like you. He must look like the mother.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that here.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the reason as to why.
Okay.
Your dad is a great guy. He's always a gentleman, just super to hang out with, nice to be around. And I'm not going that route. Okay? Because I don't want him coming down and, zapping me on my head, maybe while I'm sleeping or something like that. But again, I speak the truth. Your father, super guy.
Yeah.
And from what I've,
You.
heard about you, you're following in his footsteps, and that's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah. You got some big shoes to fill, Royce, indeed, but I believe you are filling them. For those who don't know, so Royce, Paul, Royce wasn't even on planet Earth right at the beginning when you would have known Crush at the beginning of his WWE run. Because when were you born, Royce? You were born in the later 90s, right?
The mid-90s, 1995.
95. So you wouldn't have seen.
Wow,
So
no.
he didn't know the Crush that you encountered in 90 in WWE when they had that huge meteoric rise. Obviously, subsequently, you went back and studied everything on your dad, I'm sure, Royce.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Say a
Paul,
lot of stuff like back in the WWE and even before WWE when you were still like doing the whole Portland stuff.
Portland. He
Wow.
was in Portland, Oregon?
Yeah, he wrestled in Portland for a while. I think he wrestled as American Ninja. There's like some old history with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah.
he was definitely a tough guy, your dad, right? He was into martial arts too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Freaking love martial arts, man.
yeah. Paul, did you get to see any of that?
No, he was quiet. Came in, always a gentleman, always in a good mood, right? I mean, because you're traveling and everything, but he was always in a good mood.
Yeah.
He'd walk in, hey, hi, shake everybody's hand. You didn't see him down in the dumps. You've seen a lot of guys that were down in dumps or just plain miserable. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that.
Oh yeah.
Always well spirited.
Yeah.
And again, polite, a
Yeah.
gentleman,
Yeah.
which is, for in wrestling back in our day, that was a rarity, a gentleman.
Oh, indeed, indeed. But as I'm seeing more and more, it's a rarity even today, Paul. Paul and Royce. But we'll get into that later. But now, Paul, did Power and Glory ever go up against Crush and Smash during the 90s?
No. If we did, I must have had a concussion because I don't remember it.
Well, yeah, they were pretty tough guys. Now, when you saw Crush, Axe, because obviously Crush came in to replace Axe, Bill
Right.
Eadie. So,
Yes.
did you see? Were they pretty close, all three of them, backstage, or was Crush? What was their relationship like? For you could see.
I mean, what I saw, they all got along really well. I know my understanding of what happened was, excuse me, Bill Eadie had gone to a doctor, and a doctor basically told him that he had a problem with his heart.
Mm.
That was sent back to Vince, and my understanding was, for the most part, well, he's pretty much done. But then come to find out, they found out that that wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
That he didn't have a problem with his heart. So again, I wasn't one to ask questions.
Right.
If it was brought to me, if I heard it per se, like in the locker room, that's kind of how I picked up on things.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the one person who, until somebody said Terry Bollea, I went, who the hell's Terry Bollea? They're like, that's Hulk Hogan. I'm like, oh, that's his name. That's his real name. And they're like, yeah, or what's his name? Beefcake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ed, whatever his name is. You
Yeah.
know, so I didn't really know anybody by their actual shoot names, as we called it. You know, their given names. Um, it was just a rarity that I'd come across somebody's real name. Like Undertaker, I can't tell you his real name.
Hmm.
I used to call him Taker all the time. Taker, what's going on? Hey, Taker, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, I just made something up as far as a name for them, you know, which was my nickname that I would remember
Hmm.
about them.
Hmm.
So, you know, um, you say Bill Eadie, to me, that's his real name,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, just that's who I was.
Yeah.
I could care less.
Yeah.
Jake Roberts,
Yeah.
my knowledge, that's his real name.
Yeah. I think he might have another name, but that's probably the name he adopted or changed his name legally to Jake the Snake, Jake Roberts rather. But then again,
Right.
changing your name legally, right, is not a bad move, actually, as the Ultimate Warrior found out, right? Because when you're trying to get the rights to your persona, speaking of rights, now Royce, you dropped a bombshell on me a few weeks ago. And that was
Yeah.
the fact that Demolition now, Axe and Smash and Crush have been brought in as WWE Legends, right? They're under a Legends deal.
Yep.
Tell us what you know about that.
Well, so I started seeing like rumors and stuff online and all that. Like, oh yeah, Demolition Legends, Axe and Smash are in a Legends deal. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then sure enough, I get a call. I get a call. I'm like, this guy tells me, yeah, hey, yeah, I'm with the WWE. We're trying to reach out to the family of the owners of Crush's estate. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is Royce, his son, and all that. Uh, I don't even know how he managed to find me out. He tells me that he looked at the obituary of Crush,
Uh-huh.
found out he had kids,
Uh-huh.
me included, and then he looked me up and he told me he saw me on Facebook, and then it was like, yeah, you were really easy to track down. Actually, I was like,
Yeah.
really, so
Yeah.
so anyways, yeah. So he reached out to me and my mom, and we agreed to sign the posthumous contract, I guess you can call it, and yeah, and so that's how my dad's now part of the whole Legends thing with the rest of Demolition. Yeah.
That is
Well, good.
great.
He deserves it. He
Yeah.
deserves that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
these guys, I mean, how hard could it really be in today's day and age, especially with Facebook,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
you know, to find somebody? I mean, I get people sending letters, hey, will you sign this to my house?
Wow,
Now
Paul.
I understand you send it to my wrestling school. That makes sense, right? PPW, but all right, it makes sense. But my home, you
Yeah.
send it to my home. I mean,
Yeah.
either I'll send it back to them unsigned, or I'll throw it out.
Well, Paul, I got the answer to that because while we were talking, I did send out an SOS because I was concerned for our co-star, Mr. Mancini. And lo
Oh,
and behold, he has appeared at the bottom
oh
of the
yeah,
screen.
no,
Really?
really?
Say something, Mario.
Is he wiping the cheesecake off his mouth or
Yeah,
what?
yeah, pretty much. There he is. And he's refusing to talk, so you guys can't see him yet. Remember, the more he's silent, you won't see him. I can only see you, Mario.
How you guys doing?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, brother.
You
So,
know who this is, right, Mario?
Yeah, I love this dad, man. Nice
yeah,
guy.
See what I mean?
yeah.
Nice guy.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
I appreciate hearing you say that, sir. That means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mario was there. You were there in the thick of it. Now, Mario, did you ever get to work Crush and Smash?
No, I worked Randy Colley and Bill Eadie, and then I worked I as a debut, and then I debuted again with Barry and Billy, and I worked with them a couple times after that. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to I don't think I did um experience Crush, but of course I was in the dressing room with him.
Yeah.
So just a really nice guy, very approachable, just down to earth,
Mhm.
humble guy, just a nice guy.
Yeah, yeah, he was. He was a terrific. It came across on screen, and it's such a pleasure to hear when you see somebody and you presume they're a nice guy to actually hear it confirmed that they are.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
difficult, a lot of times they're not, but nonetheless. But yeah, we were talking Mario before when you came on that Demolition just got a Legends deal with WWE, And
Oh,
so,
that's fantastic.
yeah,
Yep.
and so Royce was contacted for the permission and stuff to use the Crush. So your family owns Crush, I presume, then.
Well, mostly my mom does, yeah. All the rights, but yeah, for most part, we are the ones that own the family or the Crush estate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty darn cool. That smart thinking on your mom's behalf. Yeah, because as we've seen, like I said, Mario, I brought up the Ultimate Warrior. Um, didn't Hulk Hogan also have some issues with his name at one point with Marvel or someone like that? Mario, do you know about that?
I'm pretty sure, um, which was, you know, um, I think he paid Marvel, which got Vince really hot at me that one time because I came to him with the Super Mario Mancini,
Hmm.
and he said, I don't want to pay Nintendo. I go, why? You pay Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
And he turned beet red, and Strongbow had to go in for the save.
Wow.
And he goes, just stay away from him. Just stay away from Caesar. Stay away from him. I'm like, it was just a suggestion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think Hogan had his problems when he left with the Hollywood and the whole thing, and Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and there's always a problem with that stuff.
Yeah.
There's always a problem with that stuff, but
Yeah.
except if you're Steve Austin, because I think Vince just gave it to him. I think
Yeah.
that was the story,
Yeah.
if
I'm
I'm
not
not
I don't
sure.
know.
mistaken.
I'm not sure what that is. Royce, I was going to ask you, did you put any stipulations in the terms of the deal to say, hey, you know what? If we're going to give you the rights for this, you better have me show up with Bill and Barry at every event. You could have plugged yourself. You could have got
He
yourself
could have.
over.
Well, I didn't really say that, but I did figure that there will be like opportunities presented, as part of that. I mean, I'm sure fans out there will still want to be like, well, if Crush is gone, who knows who's going to represent him and stuff, and or who will continue his legacy. And sometimes people will look at me and I'll be like, sure, I can do that, but yeah, I mean, there wasn't much to say about the contract. That's just it's more about like the rights deal and stuff. Like about like if they're allowed to show up in certain events. Basically, it's like asking if they have permission to do be on screen and stuff like that. It's just how the contract stuff is. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what is your relationship like with Axe and Smash? Because obviously they must have spoken with you over the years. What's your relationship like with them?
Actually, believe it or not, I've never even talked to either Axe or
Oh,
Smash.
wow.
Yeah, I never met them in person. I never even talked to them on the phone. My mom though, she is in contact with Barry's wife, Smash's wife. I forgot her
Okay.
name, but yeah, they are in contact, and that's actually how we confirmed that this was a legit deal and not some scam.
Hmm.
Because the whole thing looked very, like lucrative, opportunative. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're I don't know. That sounds almost too good to be true. So that's why we reached out to get confirmation. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I'm glad. I'm happy for you. It's a good thing to have happen. But now you speak of your dad, right? And keeping on
Uh-huh.
the legacy. Gentlemen, Mario, Paul, he has some of the original tights that Crush had in the mid 90s. And he wore them and they fit perfectly. I'm surprised
Really?
because yeah, it fit perfectly. They haven't stretched or lost the color or anything like that. Do you still have any of them? And if you do you have any of them close to hand right now, Royce?
I do actually. Yeah, I have some you can see we're in my room right now, and I actually have them hanging in the closet. So
Yeah,
just
let the
yeah,
fans see one.
yeah. Give me just 1 second.
Yeah. And while you're doing that, everybody, powerplex that subscribe button. That's right. You heard us right. And
That's
next
right.
and next week, I let everybody know, Mario, that we're going to be going live. So I told them to load up their wallets, get prepared to slap those super stickers because they want their questions answered on the power of truth here. They better be ready next
And
week.
Yeah.
those
And the other,
answers and those answers will be the truth.
Yep.
yeah. Hey, listen. And the other thing is, it's going to be really difficult I come and break your arm when you don't hit that subscribe button. What do you think of that, Mancini?
That's right. Oh, there he is.
Classic Roma. Classic Roma.
There is Royce. Say something so everybody can see that singlet.
Yeah. See this here. This is one of my dad's old singlets. Look at thing is, the only like singlets I have of him are when he was like the heel crush. You know, when he had the face paint, all that stuff.
With Mr. Fuji.
Yeah, that's when he was like, it was managed by Mr. Fuji. These are like the only gears because you can see, the coloring and the design. This was back when he was, like I said, the heel crush, and it fits like a glove. It really does fit pretty well.
Amazing.
I was surprised like crazy when not only did I find them, but the fact that they fit me like so perfectly. I was like, I remember going through my dad's old stuff and I found that one. That was the first one I wore. Yeah. I was like, oh, hey, this looks nice, and just for funsies, I just put it on and be like, oh, let's see how loose this thing is. But then I put it on, I'm like, holy shit, it fits. How the hell does this fit? It's like, it's not tight, it is just a little loose, but it still fits perfect. I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
I go downstairs to show my mom, my folks, and they're like, what the hell, Royce? Did you shrink that? No. it just fits,
Yeah. Because how tall are you, Royce? How tall are you?
About 6'2", 6'2" for the most part.
Yeah. So your dad was a little bit taller. He was taller, Paul, right? He was like 6.
That I remember. Yeah. Well, I guess. Well, I don't know now. Probably about maybe. I don't think he was taller than 6'4".
No,
he was a bit tall. I'm sorry, but he was pretty tall back in this day. Like I actually have a picture of him standing next to Undertaker in like at a golf course one time. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up on my phone real quick. I have a contact who sent me this picture recently. Yeah. So you see the picture well?
Oh yeah, we actually do. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's pretty tall.
That's him and the Undertaker and a buddy of theirs right there.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he's pretty tall. He's almost as tall as Taker.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Taker had to hunch down just a little, and I have met him in person too. But yeah, my dad was at least 6'6", if not taller than that. So
yeah. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, he was pretty. Yeah.
Excuse me.
I'm like 6'4".
No, listen, no disrespect.
Yeah. I heard 6'4". I'm like 6'4". Oh hell no, I'm not.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I thought I was taller back then. Maybe I didn't look up so high. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Man, but that was a legendary time. But yeah, your dad was jacked in that photograph, man.
Yeah, he was huge. I even remember when I was a kid, he always had the biggest arms I ever seen. Yeah. And I always thought he was the tallest too, I always thought my dad was the tallest until I meet guys like Taker and Big Show and I look up at them. I'm like, how are you guys bigger than my dad? Especially Big Show. That dude's so big, he has to duck under the freaking door frame just to walk through.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Paul, have you met Big Show? Paul White?
Oh yeah. I met him when he came in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you would have still been in WCW. Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually chauffeuring Flair around, and Flair brought him in and says, "Hey, we want to make him Andre's kid."
Yeah.
And I just looked at him and I was like, well, it's a tall boy. Yeah. And then next thing you know, they broke him into the business.
Yeah. And he did very well. That's one thing.
And a real super nice guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems like a nice guy and he's still working today. I think he's working for Tony Khan. Is he not in ROH or AEW right now? I think he's in one of them.
It's AEW. Yeah.
He's in AEW. Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, he works like as some sort of authoritative figure, and he also goes by Paul No BS White these days too.
That's
right. Really?
Yeah, that's what he's calling himself these days. And I think he still does wrestle, actually. Like not as often, but from time to time he does, yeah.
He's been repackaged a few times, and that's something that your dad and he has in common. Man, I mean, Crush, he was Crush, then he was the Neon Crush, the good guy Crush. Then he was the heel Crush, Kona Crush. Then he was the biker, the Disciples of the Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. Then he became Bryan Adams in WCW, and then he was part of Chronic. That's like 6 or 7 transformations he had over a 10-year period. Incredible, man. Incredible. Which one was he closest to? Out of all the personas, which one was he closest to in real life? Royce.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were asking him. Yeah. So my dad was friends with a lot of guys, but if I had to say who he was really close with, it's guys like the Undertaker and Macho Man, and pretty much Big Show too, only because I've seen them more often than anyone else. Like I used to see Macho Man all the time when I was a kid. Actually,
Mhm.
like my dad would take me with him when he goes to the gym, just so you know I could go to the daycare and he works out. And he almost always meets up with Macho Man. They sometimes hang out and stuff. And, you know, they just hang on by, just doing their stuff while I'm just sitting in the car, you know, twiddling my thumbs around just because I'm waiting to see what's up. You know, I'm like, what's going on? You know?
Yeah, yeah. But were you were cognitive of that? Were you aware of who these guys were as a kid? Did you know how influential these guys were that you were hanging around?
Uh, I, I, to be honest, no. I always thought that before I even knew they were wrestlers, I thought they were like tough buddies of my dad's. You know, like before I knew Taker was a wrestler, I thought he was just a big biker dude. You know,
Yeah.
because I mean he fits the part.
Yeah.
Big dude, bandana, arm tats everywhere. You know,
Mhm.
He wore leather a lot.
Yeah.
that too. But he also, he always fit the persona. You know, but then I
Yeah.
saw him in a game one time of this goth character called Undertaker, and I was like, wow, he looks a lot like Uncle Mark. That's what I always called him, by the way. He looks a lot like Uncle Mark. Undertaker. I was 5 at the time, so I had no idea what I was reading, you know. And I was like, Dad, look, it looks like Uncle Mark. He's like, it is Uncle Mark. I'm like,
Well,
oh,
Mario broke him in, you know.
Yes. Yes, he did. Mario, care to elaborate to our guest about how you made the Undertaker?
oh my God, no way.
Well, it's funny. Um, when I started doing this pretty steady, I started off with Morris on Cheap Heat, and I haven't done a podcast with him for about a year. And we decided to do one last night. Obviously, plug in Power and Glory and Hey Roma, and um, I wanted to do one so badly because I've seen yet another clip with Mark.
Oh,
Uh,
what was that clip again, Mario? What was that
that
about?
clip was how Ricky Steamboat suggested that he'd start using body bags after he went over on TV.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And he goes, some of these jabronis, and the host goes, I don't know if you can still call them jabronis. He goes, I don't know, jabrones. Of course, I got offended.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got offended. I mean, and I went off. I
Mm.
went off. We're not all blessed to give a gift from God to be 6'10". We weren't all blessed to have a gimmick tailor made for you. The guy was sweating his ass off that he was going to be the gobbledygooker
Mhm.
Yep.
until Vince called him and said, "Is this the Undertaker?" And he went, "Oh, yeah, it is."
Yeah.
It's like the wrestling business is a very humbling business.
Right place, right
Um,
time.
yeah, it's a very humbling business, and the best of them, um, have gone out of this business in horrible ways.
Mm.
And they were great wrestlers and well respected, and things just didn't end up right for them. And you know, I didn't go to wrestling school in 1983 when I was 17, going, I can't wait to be one of the biggest losers in this business history. I can't wait. I can't wait. That wasn't my dream. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you watch the dark side of the ring, and you watch it like Shawn Michaels, and they show him when he's like 9, 10 years old, cutting promos and everything. I did that too
Mhm.
in 1977 and 78 when I was 11, 12 years old. I'm the one in 1980 when I was 14 years old that said I'm gonna be a professional wrestler when I was 14. We all had dreams, you know, uh, you know, they didn't come true. You know what I mean? And a lot of guys are and as I said, I go, well, Barry and Billy, and by the way, if you ever want to go to a convention where they're at and I'm at, I can guarantee you this: Barry and Billy will probably sit there for 2 hours and talk to you about your dad. Believe me when I say that, the two nicest gentlemen you ever wanted to meet. My point was, Amir, that Barry and Billy don't call me jabroni. Valentine doesn't call me jabroni. Beefcake doesn't call me jabroni. Might have called me jabroni back in the 80s, but Eddie's changed. DiBiase doesn't call me jabroni. Tito Santana doesn't. Tony Atlas doesn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? There are a lot of guys that came before him, and God bless him. He had a good run. He was a very popular wrestler, and he contributed a lot to the wrestling business. I'm not taking that away from him, nor am I taking away the fact that he's an icon in the history of professional wrestling. He will always be known as an icon. But so will Bret Hart, so will Stone Cold Steve Austin, so will Dwayne Johnson, so will Bruno Sammartino. You know what I mean? So will Hulk Hogan.
Mr. Perfect.
But yeah, these guys didn't treat me like that. They, you know what I mean? So, I didn't. I went in there and I put them over. I put them over. Listen, in professional wrestling, like I said last night, Vince is the wrestling god. Vince gave him life. And in defense of Vince McMahon, actually, this is why, and Roma will confirm this. This is why he would get angry. Now, since we have Paul Roma here, here's a good example. This is a perfect example. You have Paul Roma. I was there sitting on the couch looking up at him while he was standing in front of the front desk. I go, think of a wrestling name? He went, yeah, Roma. I was there.
Mm-hmm.
He was driving in the car with Ray, said Power and Glory. Right? So this doesn't apply to Paul Roma.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But when Vince McMahon physically takes you in, gives you a gimmick, puts you over on the TV, books you 355 days a year, and makes you a tremendous living, then one day you have to do a job and you go, hey, what? That's what pissed him off, because he made you.
Mm-hmm.
He created you. He made you. You know what I mean? And I'll pose the same question as I did last night. Do you think he would have had that much fame as Mean Mark Callis?
No, I don't. Well, I think he tried his hand at that at WCW and it wasn't working.
It wasn't working. So he was a body in a gimmick that got over. That gimmick got over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and also heavily contributed to by Percy Pringle, Paul Bearer, big time.
Right. So here comes this kid. You know what I mean? And there's reasons why they did what they did, and Chief did because Chief trusted me. So at that point, I'm 24 and he's 25, by the way. On November 19th, 1990, I'm 24 and he's 25. Okay. And I was there for almost, at that point, 5.5 years. And he had to get over big, and he had to get over right, and it was his first appearance. So they handpicked, and I went out there, did a job for him.
Yeah.
You took the tombstone.
Yeah.
I did the favor. I didn't take the tombstone. I took Don Morocco's reverse pile driver is what I took.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Royce,
Yes, what's up?
you are in the middle of a war that's brewing right now. I'm just warning you, okay? You're a part of this now. Anyway, Mario, continue.
I guess,
so and a point was made last night, which is, I understand. I get it. It was just like when Brett and I and Roma were standing together, and he and Roma are talking, and they stop talking, and Brett looks over at me. He goes, Mario. I go, Hitman. He goes, you were good. And I went, what? He goes, you were good. And he looked at Rome and he said, listen, sometimes you throw these guys in the ropes, you don't know what's coming back at you. Mm-hmm. He goes, but when I got in a ring with Mario, I knew exactly what I was getting. So if a point was making last night, And I get it. I do. I understand because I watch old tapes of guys getting thrown into the ropes and they're hitting them stomach first. They were never trained. They were thrown into a wrestling ring with no training. Now, if you want to call those guys jabronis, go ahead because they had no business being there. But when you call somebody who was a staple, myself, Barry Horowitz, Steve Lombardi, Jose Luis Rivera, Johnny Rods, Jose Estrada, Charlie Fulton, Sal Balomo, you know, that's wrong.
No, I agree. It's totally wrong because, and also what made the product so good back then was because of guys like you, Mario, because it actually helped the guys hone their craft on a Superstars or All American Wrestling Challenge, whatever it was. And then it preserved and it helped build their feud for the pay-per-views. I think it actually worked better than what it is today, just showing a main event every chance you can on TV. What's a main event anymore? There is none, you know?
I was asked, if you were able to look them in the face, what would you say to them? I said, don't call me jabroni.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was there to help you.
Right.
What's he gonna do?
Not just that, it's disrespectful.
What's he gonna do? Whack me out? What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? Hit me?
Yeah.
Well, if he does, you know a thing or two about the law, Mario.
What? I mean,
And also think about
all I ask,
structures.
it was bad enough, Amir, that the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
If you watch that Hall of Fame speech, he got a big speech about respect, and then not a couple of minutes after he was talking about respect, he went, jobber, enhancement talent. I'm like, he just had a big speech about respect and he just showed disrespect.
No, it's not cool.
Why would he do that? You know what I mean? And my phone blew up that night because he said the night he debuted, the kid screwed up and he had to take it to him.
Mm.
And I'm like, listen, and it started like a pinball machine, my phone. I said, listen, I had to put it on Facebook. I said, listen, if you're watching the Hall of Fame, that wasn't me. It had to be the match after me because I was the first one to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be the kid after me that taped another hour because it wasn't me. My match was seamless with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So my phone went nuts, and that was the big talk where he went in and Vince goes, everybody thinks you're an asshole for doing what you did to that kid. You know what I mean? And he learned humility and all that other stuff. And then 2 minutes after that, he made fun of it. He for some reason, I don't know what. It's weird. For some reason, he makes fun of the jobbers or the enhancement talent.
Yeah.
And there's one guy that always put them over, and he told me why. Jesse Ventura, when you watch the old tapes and videos and TV tapings when he's announcing, he'll always put the jobber over. Always. And there's a story behind that he told me. The reason why he does. So did I want to break? Yeah. Did I put my time in? Yeah. Would I like to get more bookings? Yeah. Did I have fights with Strongbow constantly about it? Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was hungry or anything like that. I got into the best shape of my life in 1990. You know what I mean? And it's just like it wasn't satisfactory. I wasn't happy about it. And to think that myself or Brian Costello or Horowitz or would go in the ring and say, yeah, I'm happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
He's wrong. We weren't happy with it. You know what I mean?
You got to have a lot of respect and in this business for a lot of people, even though oftentimes we do end up working with real life jabronis, as I'm sure Royce you've experienced. We won't go into details, but I'm sure you have over your tenure getting into this business. But I wanted to bring it back to you, Royce. So for the benefit of the viewers out there, when did you actually start practicing getting in the ring and taking your bumps to become a wrestler?
When I start,
When you start?
let's see, I'll be back in February of 2017. So this is about almost 8 years ago now. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
about
seven.
2017. Yeah, about 8 years ago. And what just prompted that? Was it your dad or was it just within you? Like, hey, I want to do this. I love this business.
Well, this goes back to when I was a kid, actually.
Mm.
Because I think I told you this before, and I've told some viewers before on other stuff, but basically, I always wanted to be a wrestler when I was a kid. I always thought it was the coolest thing I ever seen on TV, apart from, the superhero movies and shows and stuff, It's almost like the closest thing to being a superhero when you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, so I always wanted to do it. My dad knew it. I told him myself, before he passed, of course, I was like, "Hey, Dad, I want to do this someday. I want to be a wrestler."
Mm.
And he was reluctant because at the time I still didn't know how wrestling really works, so he had to undress it for me. He was like, each time a show comes on, he's like, "Oh, yeah, Roy, see those two guys? Okay, they're going in the ring and stuff. That guy's gonna win. He's not gonna win, right? That guy's gonna win right there." It's like, okay, cool.
Mhm.
He tells me that first, and then the next one he'll tell me, "Yeah, see that guy? See when he like hits him, he doesn't really hit him for real. He's just tapping him, or he's not really just yeah." I was like, okay, gotcha, gotcha. And then the next time we watch it, he just straight up tells me, "Royce," I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, wrestling it's staged." I'm like, yeah, it kind of did broke my heart a little. Like I was like,
I think it broke a lot of young boys' hearts when we found that out. We were
I
like,
was
wait.
like, I was having like a little existential crisis right there too. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I want to be real. But then my dad realized he kind of bummed me out. He's like, yeah, it is what it is, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. And I'm like,
Yeah. You
yeah.
know what? It's funny. You bring me back to my dad. Paul, actually, were you still there? Mario, you may have been there. When Papa Shango came in and he put a supposed curse on the Ultimate Warrior. Okay, you would have just left. So he comes out, Mean Gene's interviewing the Warrior. And Papa Shango comes out and he puts this voodoo curse on the warrior. And all of a sudden the warrior starts looking at his hand, he's shaking like this, and all this black goo starts coming down from his hair, right? And dripping over his face. And he's like, all this crap. And but I remember like saying to my dad, I was like, because my dad would always say, "Oh no, it's fake. It's not real." And I say, but dad, but look, he's got stuff coming out of his head. Because I couldn't, as a kid, I couldn't figure out how on earth can he have this goo. But then when you're older and you look at it, all of his hair is like brushed forward. So they've got a pack up here in his head, and his hands are constantly in his jacket during the promo, which is very unlike the Warrior, right? So he's obviously holding on to a darn button and he's pushing this thing. But as a kid, like you said, Royce, it was like when Vince finally, let's go into that. Let's talk about that for a bit because I think Vince really did a disservice to wrestling. That day when he came out and he said, "We think you're tired of having your intelligence insulted." And then he basically exposed the business. Well, actually, it was a combination between him and that Wrestling with Shadows with Bret Hart. It was those two things that exposed the business. Now I want to hear straight from the champion's mouth, as it were. Paul, when that finally happened, when that moment happened, what were your initial reaction to when Vince exposed everything?
I just, thought to myself, wow, everything he put on us, he just got rid of. Only for one reason, save money.
Yeah.
That's why he did it. By him saying that it's sports entertainment, he no longer had to pay the commissioners of New York and I believe Pennsylvania. Um, he didn't have to pay them anymore.
Mhm.
They're non-existent because now it's sports entertainment.
Yeah.
And it was just everything that was drilled into my head, Mancini's head, it was for naught.
Yeah. Mario, what were you feeling when you saw that first? Were you angry, happy, indifferent?
I laughed. I laughed because heels had to drive with heels, baby faces had to drive with baby faces, and you couldn't be seen together. And the big deal about Hacksaw and Sheik getting caught together in the middle of a big feud, and how serious that was, and how everybody judged them for heel and babyface to be traveling together. And all that stuff, and all the secrets, we were still able, because it was a win-win, right?
Mhm.
Rob will even tell you, even in Orange, Connecticut, in the wrestling school, when people training would walk by and go, "Come on, guys, that stuff is really fake, right?" And we'd go, "Come on in, and we'll show you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, if they ever got in and we showed them, we would beat the living hell out of them, right? So it was
Right.
always a win-win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No one can tell. No one could. I mean, there was the big Eddie Mansfield thing where he exposed the business, and they showed Dick Murdoch missing a punch by an inch, and the guy selling it and everything. I get that 2020 thing, but
Mhm.
you know what? As they said in that piece on 2020, over 30% of the people still thought it was real.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it still had, people still wondered, and it still had a flair to it. When Vince did that, that was it. That was it. It's just like going to a movie, and I'll say it until the day I'm in the ground. I didn't break into the entertainment business. I
Right.
wasn't interested in that.
Right.
I broke into the wrestling business.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
was interested
Yeah.
Well, listen, speaking of wrestling business, get a little off sidetracked here, but Las Vegas, Nevada, April 18th. I know it starts the 17th. We will be there on the 18th. Oh, and by the way, they announced that the Young Stallions are going to be there signing autographs, Amir, but they didn't announce that Mario Mancini was going to be there.
Right.
in, because I'm a
However,
jabroni. I'm a jabroni.
however, since corrected that.
Okay.
Right? You heard it. You heard right. So I had sent a message, and they are going to make sure that they announce that Mr. Mario Mancini will be signing autographs and selling photos
I
of
appreciate
himself.
that, Roma. I
That's
do
good.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad that you got that straightened up. Some
Yep.
people undeniably need to be put in their place, Paul, as you and I
No, I got it.
discussed.
I got it in my phone. He
Right.
sent me back a confirmation and said that he would make the correction.
Excellent.
I appreciate that.
Excellent. So let me remind you, viewers, again, reiterate what Paul just said. A WrestleCon in Las Vegas begins April 17th. We will be arriving that night, so we won't be in the convention that day. We will be in there starting 18, 19, and 20. Okay, so
Yes.
make sure you find your way to the Power and Glory booth where, like I said, Paul Roma, Jim Powers, Mario Mancini, and myself will all be there. It's going to be a blast. And who knows, Mario, Paul, we may just go on a taker hunt. And when we track him down,
Ooh.
power by numbers, we may take him down once and for
I
all.
don't think he's
Oh.
going to be there. It's
Okay.
$250 for an autograph.
250
Wow.
for a taker autograph?
Wow.
Wow.
Well, good for him.
That is a lot of
It's
money.
$25,000 to have dinner with John Cena.
I did see that. Yeah, I'm like, oh boy, with him being
Really?
ill right now.
But
Oh yeah.
does he pay for dinner or you?
He can afford plenty of dinners. That's for darn sure. And speaking of which, Ash, you brought that up because you brought it up. You walked right into that one, Royce. What do you think
Yeah.
of John Cena? I was going to say John Heenan. John Cena's new, his latest promo on Raw. What did you think? Letdown or success?
Success, honestly, and in terms of his heel turn, I just gotta say it's about damn time because I've been waiting for that to happen for like at least 15, maybe even 20 years. He's just been doing the whole Super John Cena thing, and don't get me wrong, he's great, but he can't maintain a face turn like that for so many years.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't see the whole video. I saw like the whole promo. I didn't see the whole thing. I did see a good chunk of it though, and I thought, damn, this guy's a savage.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this guy can work the mic like the best of them, honestly. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, I tell you what, gentlemen, I'm going to give a plug to one of our other partners here on the channel, Rico Constantino, and who is it? Kenny Bolin had texted me. A few people had talked to me, and they said that was shadows of what John did when he first started as the prototype. When he was the prototype in OVW, because I don't know, Paul, did you know this? Rico was tag team partners with John Cena when they were in development. They were tag team champions in OVW. They came
No.
up together. Yeah, they came up together, Rico and John. So he knows him very, very well. In fact, I think I'm going to have Kenny Bolin join us on Power and Glory. So mark that in your calendar, viewers. So
Okay.
Kenny was, in OVW for 17 years. And he had a hand in helping the careers of Randy Orton, Dave Batista, John Cena, and all. He was Jim Cornette's right-hand man for a
Okay.
number of years.
Okay.
So yeah, he just texted me this morning, so we'll try and work that out. But Paul, what did you think? Did you watch the promo that John did?
I saw the turn. I watched a little bit. I wasn't again. I don't know. It's just me. Um, we spoke about this, right?
Yeah,
Turning heel.
yeah,
It was time. The shorts, the little kid on the skateboard thing isn't working anymore.
yeah.
You're a 40-year-old guy or however old you
He's
are,
almost 50.
almost 50, whatever he is, and I don't know. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not working. So I think this is a great move that they made. Um, to figure something, send him in another direction, get a little more use out of him.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
But
for sure. But here's the
yeah,
thing. So Paul, he refused to change his look and he's refused to change his music. So he's just going to be bad, but the same character.
well, I mean, I guess he's got the juice that he can dictate to WWE what he wants to do.
Yeah.
It just here. Look, I'm going to leave it this way. He can do that. The bosses.
What was that, Paul? You broke up. If he can do that.
Then we know who the boss is.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes,
There
indeed.
you go. He's the
Yep.
one.
Yep.
He's the
He's
boss.
he's he's one of the bosses. Mario, you had made a prediction that he would die, or you would want to change his hair, maybe grow some facial hair, go in black trunks. He's not going to do any of that. Do you think that keeping his original look and gimmick, just changing the way he talks, do you think that's going to be enough to change him?
Well, you know what? Old school, does it really is the garb or the gimmick helpful? I think when it comes to a heel, it's people need to hate you and what you do in the ring. I don't know if it's going to hinder him. Of course, it would enhance if he changed his look. It would help, but slightly.
Mhm.
But I think his actions are what's going to give him the most heat than to say his appearance. I
Okay.
don't know. I
Okay.
don't know.
Speaking of appearances, let's kick it back to a man of quite a few appearances, and that was your dad, Royce. So for you, what was the best rendition of your dad in terms of his presentation?
I think, in my opinion, his most iconic look out of all the looks he's had is the Kona Crush gimmick.
So
It was
the neon one, the
the
neon
neon one,
color.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
I mean, I get the neon may not be the most unique look because when you think of neon colored tights, first that comes to mind is Mr. Perfect, right?
yeah.
But in terms of like style and characteristic, I feel like especially with the whole, Kona Hawaii thing, right?
Mhm.
I think that was definitely a very unique, standoutish sort of thing for my dad. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, his time in Demolition was also pretty good too, whether you like it or not. I mean, I
Yeah.
know people have their opinions about that. I know.
Yeah.
But one thing that you have to agree with is his most iconic appearance was when he was Kona Crush.
Mhm.
That's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Crush, either that or Demolition. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember the action figure. I think I had the Kona Crush action figure back in the day. And just for anybody out there who may say this, because Paul, we get a bunch of trolls and a bunch of people who watch us and they say, "Oh, this guy's a mark." First of all, I'm not a mark. Number one, You know, none of us are. We grew up watching the business. Obviously, if you have a remote interest in the business, then I guess you're a mark. Is that what it is, Paul? That you're a mark if you have a remote interest in it?
Listen, to my knowledge, maybe behind my back, but I was never called a mark.
Mhm.
Maybe behind my back I was, which
Yeah.
is fine. I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
You know, I've called people marks, not many, but I've called people marks out of laughing for
Yeah.
most part. Not to you know degrade them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if I turn to Mancini and go, "Oh, you're a mark,"
Yeah.
it's because he said something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the one way of
Yeah.
kind of grabbing his attention.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
think there's a
Or
diff.
it's probably because I gave something away for free because somebody's pants were too tight, and you go,
yeah, that'd be it too.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
such a
he's a
mark.
mark.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But
I guess
but
really the
yeah,
true definition of being a mark is being an absolute suck up. Like you could
Yeah.
be a fan of the business and not be called a mark. Because I'll say this: I've been a fan of this business since I was a kid.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll fangirl a little bit when I'm meeting legends, but that's normal. You know, you ain't
Yeah.
marking them.
yeah. But
Yeah.
how could you not? How
Right.
could you
Exactly.
not?
Right.
To be a mark is to act like you know a suck up, basically. Like it's like if you're a fan, you'll be like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you." You know, shaking hands. Very awesome job, dude. Good luck. A mark will be someone like, "I worship
Right.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You are my
Yeah,
god."
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
that to me is a
Yeah.
mark. Unfortunately, I don't call anyone marks either. I think that's disrespectful, but I have met a couple of people like that out there before, and I'm like, I
Some.
appreciate your support,
Well,
but
listen, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to jump ahead of this.
Yeah.
okay.
When we get to Vegas, I know that Amir is going to be a mark for Mario's cheesecake.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he is bringing cheesecakes. My wife Tink has actually requested a cheesecake, and
how
you,
do I get? Do I bring that on my carry-on? It's got to be frozen
yeah,
solid. I don't even know if it's going to make the trip.
you're just gonna have to freeze it, Mario. You're gonna have to pack it in ice and just put it in your carry-on. That's it. I mean, Mario, you're the one that professes to be a cheesecake master. All right. So,
Yeah,
we're going to get this cake out there, get it
yeah,
sampled. We have a huge audience at WrestleCon. This is your
yeah.
opportunity to go international.
I
Okay.
Hey, oh,
understand.
by the way, he makes and I'm going to get the name wrong, so I know Mario will correct me. But he makes cheesecake lollipops.
Wow. I've never heard of that. Mario, is this something you invented?
It's a cake pop. No,
Oh,
Starbucks.
Starbucks?
No, no. I mean, no. It's what you do is you take a melon ball or you make a cheesecake, you let it cool, it almost freeze halfway, and then you take a melon baller, and well, of course you got gloves on, and you shape it into a ball, put it into a stick, put it in the freezer, and then you melt chocolate and you dip it into the chocolate.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he brings them for demolition all the time.
I
Oh,
bring them for
okay.
yeah, Barry and Billy.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Although last time Barry's like, I can't eat those, my wife will kill me. I'm supposed to watch what I'm eating. Blah. One time I brought him a cheesecake and some other stuff, and he ate it
Oh, man.
all of it
Wow.
damn.
during the afternoon, and he's like, I'm so sick right now. And Billy's like, I told you not to eat all of it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Royce,
What's
brother.
up? What up?
Where can fans go to get in contact with you, and where can they see you perform?
So people can reach out to me on Facebook through Facebook Messenger. I've actually had people that have reached out to me already. Thing is, I don't always look at the messages because sometimes it's not because of them. I get people that are they're either wanting
idiot.
deals, not.
But wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a
I'll
minute,
call
wait a
anyone.
minute. Whoa. Is it because you're not looking at them because you're Joe Rogan status, baby? Like Ric Flair?
Wait,
Because,
what?
yeah, okay.
Oh
Okay.
no.
Oh,
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no.
All right.
It's not that. It's just I get I get some people that ask me if I want like a graphic arts design or whatever, or someone that wants to make me a new singlet, and I'm like, they'll ask me, "Are you wrestle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I wrestle. I make designs." I'm like, "Oh, cool."
Oh,
Yeah.
So I get those people that reach out to me all the time, but
You know,
sometimes I get decent folk that do say hi. So yeah, yeah, reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. It's me, Royce Adams.
yeah.
I'll be like, I'll basically look like this, but with a red and silver singlet, looking like
Looking menacing. Looking
yeah,
menacing.
yeah.
shoot. Almost I got a message for a second. I was like, oh shit, someone's reaching out to me right now. But nah,
Well, you know what? But if they do reach out to you, Royce, and they say, "Hey, do you need a singlet?" Say, "Sure." Are you donating them? Yeah, there you go. That's a good response. There you
Free,
go.
free is good.
Yeah, if it's free, it's good. I'll wear it for free and promote your company. There you go.
Yeah.
So
that's a good idea. I'll keep that in mind next time. I
there
mean,
you
I'm
go.
I'm, I'm good with seamless right now though, and I'm not looking for any graphics design. I already got like, I mean, I don't really have any like graphic backgrounds. I just use whatever promo shots I get, like at these shows. So I
Yeah.
just use those instead. But yeah, yeah, reach out to me, folks, on Facebook Messenger. I may be able to respond. I may be busy, so I don't respond right away. Plus, it's just these are just weird times right now for me. And I just, trying to wrestle and my shoot job, trying to work and all that. So it's
Right.
Yeah.
just,
Just
it's
yeah. Just make sure you keep your feet on the ground. And like I said, don't go Joe Rogan status, baby. Ric Flair is not
what
a
is Joe Rogan's status? Does he like not respond at all or what?
oh no.
No,
So
no.
let me tell
Go
a
on.
story. I love
Yeah,
to
go on.
tell this
This
story.
is great.
So Paul and Mario and I were talking about Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen
Mhm.
because Paul was a member of the Four Horsemen in WCW and arguably one of the best fitting Four Horsemen in the entire history of the Horseman group. So anyway, WWE and some other, well, not WWE per se, but Flair had kind of downgraded Paul over the years and said that, he wasn't fit to be in the Horsemen. Some other people had said it too. And we were talking back and forth. And after the episode, Mario had texted me Ric Flair's phone number. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'll invite Flair on the show.
Oh boy.
So I text Flair. We talked a little bit. He says, call me tomorrow. So I call him the next day. I tell him who I work with. He's like, yeah, yeah, no, I respect Rico. Yeah, I respect. At the time, we were working with Chris Masters. And so, yeah, I respect Chris. I respect, and I mentioned Paul and Mara. And I said, yeah, I work with Paul and Mara. I said, I know you may not be on the best terms with Paul, but, I work with those gentlemen too. He goes, oh, no, they're fine. Anyway, I proceeded to say, I know you've overcome some health obstacles and you've turned your life around, and we'd love to share your story with our audience. And then all of a sudden he switched. He said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" He goes, "Man, I am better than all those guys. I am top. I am Joe Rogan status, baby." With his lisp. And then he said, "I can't come on the show. I'm above that. Happy New Year," and hung up the phone on me. And that was
Who?
it. And it was just abrupt. I just laughed when I looked at the phone because I was not a fan of Ric Flair. And I'll put that on the record. I was not a fan of Ric Flair. To me, he was not a cartoon character. He was not larger than life. He wasn't a superhero. And I was not interested in anybody who wasn't a superhero. That was it. So yeah, if Ric Flair does watch it, I respect what you did professionally, but personally, that's not cool, man.
So that's our running joke now.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Rogan status.
Yeah. So anybody ever comes on that has a big ego, they're a dime a dozen in wrestling. They're just trying to be Joe Rogan status, baby. And that balloon will get popped
That's
eventually.
it.
I
Oh,
have
Lord.
I have witnessed popped egos before, and brother, I tell you, it is not pretty.
Nope.
Oh, I've seen them happen at shows and stuff. I've seen people like go in the back. They'll say stuff you don't even understand. I can't believe it happened.
Crying.
Like, bro, chill. No, I won't chill. Like, oh man, I'm
Oh my
sorry.
gosh. It's
You know,
like a circus. But hey, but no, even though there are those, the wrestling business is filled with delights such as yourself. And I didn't mean it like that. Please don't take it like that.
Mhm.
But delight in the sense that you're a well-adjusted young man, you're polite, you respect the wrestling business is as multiple players, as we discussed earlier with Mario. Mario's role was equally as important as the Undertaker's. They were
Mhm.
equally as important during that time. And when guys finally understand that, I see that, when I do wrestling shows, my job is to make the opponents look great. It's to make my team look great, right? It's the job is to make the company look great and promote that as a whole. It's not to go into business for yourself, as people often do. So I think as long as people remember that, I think they'll have better products.
Right. And being as humble as you are, it shows that your father did a great job, and you're a direct spin-off of him. And when I tell you that, that's a good thing.
I appreciate hearing you say that, sir. That means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a good guy, Royce. We enjoy having you here on Power and Glory. Of course, we're going to bring you back in the future. I've discussed this. So, but I think we've reached the top of the hour. In fact, we've gone over the hour, gentlemen. So, we'll wrap it up for this episode. Mario, any closing comments?
Royce, listen, your father paid a price and he sacrificed. And you're his kid. Use that and let people know that, because that's going to help you and it should help you, and you're entitled to that. You're not using it, you're not abusing it, you're entitled to that. Your dad paid a price. Don't ever forget that.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Paul, any closing statements for our audience this week?
Just want to thank them for joining us. We're going to be live, and then we're going to be live in Vegas. There's a lot going on, a lot coming up.
Yeah.
And I thank everybody. God bless you all. See you next week, right?
Yep. And also next week, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are interested in our non-wrestling contact, Hey Roma will be back next week. We've had a couple of crazy weeks, busy days. I haven't been able to film, but we're going to be back on track next week. And I believe we're going to have our special guest next week, church pastor. We're going to be discussing some very interesting topics, things that are going on in the world and how they relate spiritually and in our faith and things like that. So make sure that you powerplex that subscribe button and hop over to Hey Roma and tune in for that. But from all of us, and also Royce Crush Adams, thank you so much for joining us this week. God bless you all. We'll see you next week.
God bless.
Right on, man.